video.
Once again, good afternoon, East Alabama, West Georgia, wherever you may be watching us across the state of Louisiana or anywhere around the world. You are watching live coverage of Hurricane Ida. This camera is located just northeast of Houma, Louisiana. The northern eye wall is now moving across this particular area. You're watching this live at 4:14 p.m. Central on Sunday, August 29, 2021 on Dr. Don's Weather. Welcome back to our broadcast. We had to step aside just for a few moments. We'd been going for a little over 8 hours, and so we had to reset everything, and now we're back, and we'll hang with you for several more hours as our coverage continues here. We're also watching storms across the Alabama, Mississippi, and Florida Gulf Coast regions. And as warnings are issued, we will bring the radar full screen and take you to those areas. We're also watching East Alabama and West Georgia. So stay with us. Our coverage continues. All right, so you're watching live video coming out of Houma, Louisiana, or just northeast of Houma, Louisiana. Just looking at some of the questions here coming in. There's a question on here about, is there a tidal surge yet? That question coming from Bonnie. Bonnie, yes, there has been a tidal surge. We were watching Grand Isle, Louisiana earlier this morning, and we'll go back and see if we can get that feed to come back up a few minutes ago. But we saw the water come up down there at least 6 feet during the length of time we were watching that camera. Then that camera went underwater and we lost it. It's been back and forth, but it's kind of hard to see. So we know that we've had at least 6 to 7 feet down there at Grand Isle. Now the forecast was up to 13 feet of storm surge. So to answer your question, yes. We have seen plenty of storm surge. I mean, the eye of the hurricane is inland now near Houma, Louisiana. So down here around Grand Isle and all the way back around to the east side of the southern Louisiana coast, we have seen storm surge. Boy, look at that picture right there. Power lines all over the roadway. Looks like a tree partially blocking the road. In this particular storm chaser is going to have a hard time getting around that. While he's trying to maneuver that, let's see if we can get back down there to Grand Isle and see what that looks like. And it looks like the water has receded here. This is the Grand Isle picture that we were looking at earlier. The camera angle doesn't look the same. It looks like the camera is now pointed down because it is. Because this morning you could see much more than this. So we have damage to this camera, but it does look like the water level has receded, which makes sense because now down there in Grand Isle, the flow is a little bit different. Earlier, we could see the top of this structure. Now we can't see the top of it. We could also see the structure that's sitting on this platform that has the brace at the bottom of it. We could see the structure on top of it. Now we can't. So the camera is definitely pointing down. And it's hard to say, but it does look like there is some damage to that cabin that we've been watching all morning. It looks like the porch is gone, for one thing. So, again, unfortunately, this is not going to be a good camera to watch. It looks like it has suffered some damage. So, let's go back. This is going to be Jocko Williams. Jocko is Galiano, Louisiana. And I know I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Just forgive me on that one. But let's see if we can get his feed to come up. He is on... he's still got some pretty rough weather taking place there. That's north of Grand Isle. And I will... I'll move that X to approximately where he is at. Right there. And again, that is... He's at the Lady of the Sea Hospital. Yeah, that's not good news. It sounds like the hospital is now beginning to lose their main roof. Galiano, Louisiana. And again, I'm sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but that's where this feed is coming from. We're in the parking lot of the Lady of the Sea Hospital. Jocko is just reporting that the main roof at the hospital there that you're looking at is beginning to peel back. He is on the eastern side of the Eye of Ida. So this is as intense as it's going to get. Let's listen in. All right, so it looks like the video has frozen on us again. Let's see if we can get it back. Thank you, Jan. We appreciate those kind words. Again, another viewer this afternoon from across the pond. Jan Wilkins is watching us in the UK this afternoon. And we appreciate those thoughts and your prayers. The state of Louisiana, southwest Mississippi, certainly going to need all the prayers and thoughts and prayers we can send their way. You're watching live video from Galiano, Louisiana. This is just north of Grand Isle and just southeast of Houma. This particular storm chaser is on the eastern eye wall of the storm. This is probably as intense as it's going to get. What you're looking at is the Lady of the Sea Hospital that is now beginning to lose the roof.
Oh, the roof's coming up off that one again. Oh, man. Goodness.
Over 100.
Now, let me turn the mic on so you can hear what I'm saying. What I was saying was that I'm now watching the chat room. So if you have any comments, concerns, or questions, you can certainly post in there. I'm watching that now. Also, the big question is, what does this mean for East Alabama and West Georgia? Because that is where most of our viewers are from, though we have folks in here today from around the world, and we're very grateful for that. But let me turn the volume down on my phone so you don't hear me talking back 3 minutes later. So the primary window of opportunity for severe weather across East Alabama and West Georgia will be Monday afternoon through Tuesday afternoon. Yes, you will have scattered showers and thunderstorms this afternoon, tonight, and into tomorrow. But if we're going to see severe weather, and that's a big if right now, if we are going to see severe weather across the Dr. Don coverage area, it will be Monday afternoon through Tuesday afternoon. And then we could have some tropical downpours. We could have some gusty winds associated with thunderstorms. Understand, we're not going to see tropical storm force winds. We're not going to see hurricane force winds in East Alabama. We're too far away from the storm. But we could certainly have some gusty winds. We could have some small spin-up tornadoes if everything sets up just right on Monday afternoon especially. We could see a few tornado warnings across the area. But again, this is a fluid situation. It is live. This is the time you stop looking at computer models and you look out the window. What you see is what you got. And that's what we're going to have to do as it pertains to the possibility of severe weather Monday afternoon into Tuesday afternoon across East Alabama and West Georgia. And for those of you that are just tuning in, the way we've been doing this for the last 9 hours is that we watch, and we've been switching back and forth to different storm chasers down in Louisiana that are staying right there close to the eye of the storm. And we'll just switch back and forth. We've been watching Houma, Louisiana for the last hour or so. Now we're back in Galiano, Louisiana, which is to the southeast of Houma. And the eye of the storm is running very close to Houma, Louisiana. And we'll go back to that camera in a few moments because I want to see what it looks like in the eye of the storm. But this is Galiano, Louisiana. This storm chaser, Jocko Williams, is in the parking lot of Lady of the Sea Hospital. Earlier this afternoon, he was reporting a wind gust of 163 miles per hour with a handheld wind detector, an anemometer. Now, understand, those things have to be held just right, and they're not exact. And also understand the Hurricane Center, their official highest wind gust that they are reporting right now is 150 miles per hour. But the anemometer that this particular storm chaser was using about an hour ago recorded 163 mile per hour wind gust. Well, you say, how in the world did his vehicle not flip over? Well, these vehicles are modified. And you notice he's pointing his vehicle into the wind. Obviously, the front of the vehicle is the heaviest part of the vehicle. So he's experienced, he's trained, this is not his first rodeo. He's done multiple hurricanes, and he knows to put that vehicle into the wind. It's kind of like putting a ship into the direction of the wave. Wind has the same effect on a vehicle. If you put it into the wind, you're decreasing the amount of contact of wind on the vehicle. So you're you're not relatively safe. Nothing about this is safe, but you're safer by putting the nose of that vehicle into the wind, which is what he is doing here. Jan is asking the question, I won't ask what these poor chasers are doing for a bathroom. Well, Jan, being a weather geek myself, I can tell you a couple of things. Number one, the thought of going to the restroom has probably not crossed these guys' minds. I mean, they are doing what they love to do, and that adrenaline is flowing. And I doubt they're even thinking about the need to go to the restroom. Number two, in the States, we have Mountain Dew bottles. And I'll just leave that right there. Yeah, we're back with Jacko. This is down in Galiano, Louisiana.
That's incredible.
Okay, we got trouble with this feed, so we're going to bail out of that and see what else we can find right quick. So let's go take a look. Let's go back up to Houma. I tell you what, hold up. Let's go to New Orleans right quick. All right, this is downtown New Orleans. All right, as we watch these this live video coming out of New Orleans, a couple of things I want to say. Number one, you'll notice a person in our chat room by the name of Jonathan Jones. For those of you that don't know Jonathan, some of you watching do. Jonathan also works for the Georgia Emergency Management Agency, which I do. And Jonathan is in charge of the communications. He is the GECA, Georgia Emergency Communications Authority, field coordinator for, areas 1 and 3 in Georgia. That's Northeast Georgia and East Central Georgia. And so he basically works with the 911 centers across the state of Georgia. And he has been working all morning at the request of the state of Louisiana to put together what we call TERT teams. These are teams of 911 dispatchers to go in, and it may have been Mississippi, I think it was. They will work to put together teams of dispatchers to go into the hardest hit areas and assist to relieve those dispatchers, because I got to tell you something, those folks are working as hard as anybody else right now. As a matter of fact, the dispatchers in the 911 centers across southwest Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana are probably working harder than anybody right now, because first responders are not out in this. Once you go to tropical storm force winds, in most cases, first responders, fire departments are not going to respond. That's policy in most locations. But the 911 centers obviously will keep right on trucking. They are the most underappreciated, underpaid public safety professionals on this planet. And yes, I am biased. I spent 6 years as a 911 dispatcher and supervisor, and an experience of a lifetime, I got to tell you. And these folks are, they're the heroes behind the scene. They are the true first responders. And I can say that because I've been a dispatcher, I've been a firefighter, I've been in law enforcement, I'm in emergency management now. I've done it all. And I can tell you it starts and it ends with the dispatchers. So kudos to you 911 communications officers. And I didn't mean to get off on a bandwagon there. See what you do to me, Jonathan? But I just wanted to recognize that is who he is. He's a first and foremost a very dear friend of mine and a colleague. And unfortunately, because of COVID and the mass vaccination sites that we stood up across the state of Georgia, he and I have spent probably more time together than producer Tracy and I over the last year or so. So he's in the house this evening along with his two daughters, one of which is brand spanking new. We have Miss Abigail and Miss Ella Grace, and wife Lisa is along with Jonathan watching our coverage this afternoon. Jan, who is watching us from the UK this afternoon, says that I can't believe there's people out wandering around in that. Yeah, I'll let you read the rest of it. But I have to concur with you, Jan. I got a little bit irritated earlier. We were watching Bourbon Street, and there were people out just walking around, and I've been doing weather coverage. I'm a weather geek, and I've been doing weather coverage since the late 70s. So that'll give you some idea how old I am. And the most frustrating part about doing weather coverage always are those who don't pay attention to the warnings and those who end up as casualties because of such. And injuries and deaths from severe weather is probably the biggest thing that can be avoided if you simply don't be stupid. And I don't think you can describe it any other way. I mean, folks who are out driving in this mess and out walking around and taking selfies with the scenes of New Orleans behind them, with a hurricane just ravishing the countryside down there. Those are, there's no words to describe that amount of ignorance. And I'm sorry if I'm being harsh, but that's the piece of this that just infuriates me, because you do everything you can to try to give folks information to save their life and protect them, and then they go right out and do things like this. And it just, I just don't understand it. Never have, and I don't think I ever will. I got some more Georgia public safety folks in here this afternoon. Miss Lorraine Morris, she is the Deputy Director for Lumpkin County, Georgia. The county neighboring the county I live in Northeast Georgia. Work with Miss Lorraine a good bit. Appreciate her being in here this afternoon. You're watching scenes from downtown New Orleans. These are live video shots coming from storm chasers down in southern Louisiana. We've been watching Houma, Louisiana, Galiano, Louisiana, down to Grand Isle, Louisiana. We were down there early this morning when the storm first started making landfall around 11:55 a.m. Central. That is a fixed static camera down there in Grand Isle, and we watched it until the storm surge got it. At about, we're estimating around 6 foot. So when that camera went underwater. It is back up, but the camera is damaged and is pointing pretty much down straight into the ground. So it's not offering much verification or information for us right now. We'll go back and check that again in a few minutes. But this is a live feed coming from downtown New Orleans. And folks, trust me, this doesn't look that bad, but it's because these buildings are protected from the wind. Up there at rooftop level, we've got sustained winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour. Also seeing reports of flooding on the east side of New Orleans. I do not have a good grasp on what that looks like or what that means at the moment, other than there is flooding. Again, I caution you that these are chasers. They're storm chasers, And when things happen, they have a tendency to get a little excited. So it is certainly possible that you may hear some offensive language. This is a live, unedited feed, so I have no idea what we're going to hear or what we're going to see. So I'm cautioning you, if you're easily offended, you might not want to hang around. Though most of the storm chasers today have behaved very well. There were a couple of slips from time to time, and to be quite honest with you, if I had been in those particular situations, you may have heard a little slip from me too. All right, we're getting reports of flooding over in Pensacola as well. That's coming from the National Weather Service. Impassable roadways in the area of Blue Angel Parkway and Kearney Road. That's over toward Pensacola. That is going to be in Escambia County, Florida, near just 1 mile southwest of Bellevue in Escambia County, Florida. National Weather Service has issued a marine warning for Chandler Sound, Mississippi Sound. That's over on the Mississippi coast. And folks, there are numerous watches and warnings, hurricane watches and warnings out there, and I'm not even going to attempt to read all of those. I can just guarantee you that if you're looking at the radar in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, everywhere where you see yellow, red, and green is under either a hurricane warning or a tropical storm warning. What we are announcing are the tornado warnings. We're reading those to you, and occasionally we'll do the marine warnings as well. Good gracious, look at that. That's debris blowing off the tops of these high-rise buildings in downtown New Orleans. You saw a huge piece of metal, tin, that almost hit that work van, Patrick's Electric. Why in the world Patrick's Electric feels that it's necessary to be out driving around in this is, unless he's going to the 911 center to help them restore power, there's not much other, or the hospital. There are no other reasons for him to be out in this. Look at that. Those are street signs, I think. Or maybe not. Maybe that is advertisement that has ripped off some of those billboards. It's got something written on it, so I don't think it's part of a roof. I think it's from one of those signs. Nonetheless, that stuff will kill you. That's a piece of sheet metal. If it hits you at 50 miles per hour, guess what's going to happen? It's going to go right straight through you. That's why these folks we were watching a few moments ago walking around downtown. You don't know when you're going to turn a corner and here comes a piece of sheet metal at 70 miles per hour. I don't mean to be gruesome, but that'll decapitate you without even slowing down. Another reason why these folks are just beyond reason out there walking around in this. Just unbelievable. Yeah, Jan brings up another good point, too, in our chat room. What happens when folks get out and do stupid stuff like that, then it puts our emergency responders even at more risk because they have to come rescue folks that unneedlessly get themselves in trouble because of doing ignorant things. And that's the nicest way I can put that. And so that's just another reason why they should be seeking shelter. They should not be out walking. You don't see that going on right now. I haven't seen a soul out walking around this mess. So maybe they've gotten the idea and have ducked in somewhere. Juanita Harmon asking the question, how close is this going to come to Roanoke, Alabama? About 200 miles is as close as Ida will make it to East Alabama, Roanoke, Randolph County. The storm continues to, it's kind of wobbling right now. It was moving due northwest. Now it's kind of in a wobble mode right there near La Rose, Louisiana. But eventually will turn more to the north. And we think we'll hug the Mississippi-Louisiana state line, passing very close to Jackson, Mississippi. Now, when the storm passes Jackson, Mississippi, if it takes the exact track the Hurricane Center has laid out before us, and I believe that it will, if it takes that track, then when it passes Jackson, Mississippi, it will be as close to East Alabama as it's going to get. And that'll be roughly somewhere around 200 miles. Then as the storm continues north, gets up into north central Mississippi and then starts to curve back to the right or the northeast, and then continue up through Tennessee and up into Kentucky, then the storm will start to pull away. So as close as this storm will get to East Alabama, roughly 200 miles. And so obviously we're not going to see any of the tropical storm force winds. Certainly none of the hurricane force winds. They only extend out about 45 miles from the center of circulation. And by the time the storm gets up to Jackson, it won't be nearly as strong as it is right now. We'll be looking probably at a strong depression. It could possibly still be tropical storm status, but it certainly won't be hurricane status up in Jackson. So as close as it gets is 200 miles, and it will be weakening. So by the time it gets to Jackson, that storm coverage area will have shrunk even more. But we do think that process will take place tomorrow afternoon during the heating of the day. So we do think that there will still be enough of the storm left to continue to pull those feeder bands up off the Gulf of Mexico. And quite possibly pull some severe thunderstorms across East Alabama and West Georgia. I really don't think we'll see anything much further east than Atlanta, maybe. But we can't completely rule it out. This is one of those times where that piece of this is very hard to predict. We'll just kind of have to ride this and watch it in live and in living color and call it as it happens. But I think there is a chance that we will see some heavy thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon across East Alabama and West Georgia. Some of those storms could produce some quick, small, spin-up tornadoes. So we're going to have to watch that possibility moving forward. Tuscaloosa, LaDonna Bonner asking a question about Tuscaloosa. Now, that's a little bit of a different story. Tuscaloosa is on the opposite side of the state from East Alabama and West Georgia. And so I think, obviously, the further east you go from East Alabama, the higher the chances are going to be of seeing flooding and severe storms. But I think the majority of the really heavy stuff stays to the west of I-65. So Tuscaloosa, you're going to be over there. So you're going to have more rain. You're going to have more of a threat of severe weather. You're still, I think, going to be far enough away from the storm. You certainly won't feel hurricane force winds, and you probably will not see tropical storm force winds in Tuscaloosa. I think you could see wind gust to close to tropical storm force winds, but not sustained. In other words, it's not going to be hurricane force winds of 38 miles per hour or stronger sustained continuously. But I think in some of those stronger thunderstorms, you could see some gust, 35, 40 miles per hour in Tuscaloosa. And again, that will be, you're going to have rain this afternoon and tonight and all the way through the duration of this, but your best window for severe weather, will, just like East Alabama, will be probably tomorrow afternoon across West Alabama. Jan brings up another good point. This is the 16th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina to the day. To the day, back in 2005, we watched in horror, the entire world did, as downtown New Orleans flooded. People were stranded for days. A total of 1,800 lives were lost during Katrina. There's going to be life loss in this one, too. But I certainly hope it's going to be nowhere near. It's going to be nowhere near that number. Because so much work has been done on the levee system, so we shouldn't see the flooding that we saw in Hurricane Katrina. Now look, I want you to look at these people. And they're just standing there looking at it. All it's going to take is a gust of wind to pick up that piece of sheet metal, and they're done. I just don't. You want to sit those folks down and try to understand what is going through their mind that would make them want to take this kind of chance. I think the problem is the lack of what's going through their mind. I mean, you might as well stand in front of a loaded gun and play Russian roulette. It's the same difference. Wow. Again, you're looking at live video feed coming out of downtown New Orleans. Now, this is not the Bourbon Street district. This is downtown New Orleans, the business district. This is a live storm spotter that's providing this feed to us via severestudios.com. And those are vortices that you see. And you can see they're little mini tornadoes that are because of the way the buildings are constructed, and this would be the same case in Atlanta or Birmingham or even downtown Mobile. With all of those tall structures, the wind does some really wicked stuff, and those are called vortices. It's kind of like you see the dust devils, sometimes they're referred to, where you see these little bitty spin-ups, and then they're all of a sudden they're gone. Well, you can get the same thing in these downtown districts like this with these tall, high-rise buildings. And that was a pretty good shot before he zoomed out of some of those vortices down there around that furthest building. And that in very small focus spots can enhance to an incredible degree. While the average wind speed may be 70 miles per hour on the tops of those buildings, if you get one of those vortices spin around the side of one of those buildings, you could have a quick snap of 150 or 200 mile per hour wind gust in a very small confined area. It wouldn't be widespread, but still, it can cause a lot of damage. All right, so Thomas Shellnut's asking the question, how much wind and rain for Roanoke? Not much. There will not be much wind and rain for Roanoke. Rain-wise, we're probably talking on the order of 1 to 1.5 inches of rain. Sustained wind from the storm itself, probably 0. It could be a little breezy tomorrow afternoon through Tuesday, but we're not looking at hurricane or tropical storm force winds from this storm in Roanoke, Alabama. Again, the closest this storm will pass to Roanoke is going to be like 200 miles. As it passes Jackson, Mississippi, if you draw a line straight across, that's as close as it's going to get. If it takes the track that the Hurricane Center has mapped out for us. Now, there's always a chance that could change, but given the present forecast, the closest it gets to Roanoke is about 200 miles. So that's not going to be an issue in Roanoke. What might be an issue, if we get some strong to severe thunderstorms spawned by the feeder bands that feed around what's left of Ida tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night into Tuesday, then some of those thunderstorms could bring tropical downpours, could bring gusty winds, and could also spin up a tornado or two. Not a high likelihood, but not 0 either. Now, I understand that we may be looking at some homeless people here because New Orleans has a huge homeless population, but there are shelters for those folks, people. There are places for them to go. They are not left out in this on their own. They provided shelter. They provided transportation to those shelters. It was offered to them. They didn't take them up on. Look, see, he just walked through there, folks. See what I'm talking about? If that had been 30 seconds earlier, that man that was on that walker would be dead right now. Unbelievable. That sheet metal is as sharp as a razor blade. It literally just flew right past where that man just walked. Again, for those of you just joining us, you're watching live streaming coverage out of New Orleans, Louisiana, as Hurricane Ida moves through the area. I'm trying to log into something on a different computer, and these verification things where you have to click on the pictures just drive me insane. Click on the bicycles. Well, the pictures are so small you can't see them. Now we're at crosswalks. Got to do crosswalks now. These people who come up with these ideas. Okay. I finally got in. So here's the deal, folks. We're going to start losing daylight in the next hour or so. It's going to be kind of hard to see some of this stuff. But we'll see how that works out. What I want to do right now, I'm going to go back to the radar. And let you look at the radar just for a minute. And I'm going to look around to see if we can come up with maybe another different shot or two to take a look at. So that was New Orleans that we were looking at. Let's go to Brett Adair. Normally has some pretty good video. Let's see what Brett's up to. All right, Brett is up here right along, he's up near Lake Pontchartrain. Reservoir, Louisiana, if I'm saying that correctly. And we'll take that. This is just north of downtown New Orleans. Amen, little John boy. It's a blessing and it is a darn curse. Amen to that. Annette East, if you're talking about East Alabama, the answer to that is yes, we may get some storms and we may get some rain, but it's not going to be anything like what you're looking at here from New Orleans. And though we've got showers and thunder showers in the area now across East Alabama and West Georgia, the best window of opportunity will be Monday afternoon through Tuesday afternoon. All right, so I'm going to step away for just a minute. I'm going to turn the audio back up so you can listen and watch. Again, this is very close to Lake Pontchartrain. They're north and east of downtown New Orleans. There we go. It's back. So I'll be back with you shortly. folks, you're watching live streaming video. We are near Lake Pontchartrain. And you can see that the roadway is completely impassable there. I don't know exactly where this is, but it's up there toward Lake Pontchartrain. I'm trying to figure out what that is in the water. I think it is a traffic light. And we just lost his audio. He just turned it off. I think he's on the phone feeding some information back to a media outlet. But that looks like a traffic light that has come loose from the guide wire that goes across the road that's hanging down in that flooded out roadway there. And again, that's near Pascagoula. So while we watch that, a lot of folks have been asking questions about East Alabama and what kind of weather we expect there. And it is worth noting that the National Weather Service in Birmingham has issued a wind advisory for Monday, starting at 10 a.m. Monday and running through 7 p.m. Tuesday, for south winds generally 10 to 20 miles per hour. But there could be some higher gusts up to 40 miles per hour. And that'll be portions of central, east central, northeast, and northwest, as well as southeast and west central Alabama. So pretty much the entire area. And I would expect those 40 mile per hour gusts to be in the higher elevations. Places like northeast Randolph County, places like north and northeast Clay County would likely see the higher wind gust. Now, you can take Mount Cheahaw out of that equation, because up at that elevation, we probably could be looking at some 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gust on top of the mountain. So it is conceivable that we could get some significant wind gusts from time to time across East Alabama and West Georgia, especially during those heavier tropical downpours that we get tomorrow afternoon. Now, if the ground is saturated, if we do have a lot of rain tonight and tomorrow morning, and then we start to get wind gusts that high, there certainly could be some downed trees. And, of course, you know what happens with downed trees. You have downed power lines, and then you have power outages. So it is possible. I don't think we're looking at a major event across East Alabama and West Georgia. But as I have been cautioning you all day long, this is a fluid situation that is changing by the hour. And so the forecast right this moment, though it doesn't look that ominous for East Alabama, that could change. This all depends on the exact track this storm takes. We're noticing in the last several loops here that Ida is wobbling a little bit. That may just be temporary, and she may pick right back up on her northwest track. But for the time being, the storm is wobbling. So is that an indication that we're beginning that turn to the north? Could be. Or could it just be a temporary wobble and she goes back to the northwest? That's the forecast, and that's what we would expect. Though we'll have to watch this together and see. Now, here are my plans moving forward. I've been going now for about 10 hours. What I plan on doing, because we're about to lose the sunlight down there in New Orleans, and it's going to be, though you'll be able to see some, it's going to be awfully hard to see, as clear as we've been able to see all day long once we lose the daylight. So I'm going to take this probably to the top of the hour or thereabouts, to about 6 p.m. Central. And then I am going to probably call it a day. And the reason being, I may be spending a good bit of time with you tomorrow, especially if we start to get some heavy storms in East Alabama. So, I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. I've been live now for a little over 10 hours. Well, actually 9.5 hours to be exact. Boy, that's a cool looking vehicle. Look at that, would you? That's a storm chaser. You see the amber and white lights. That's not public safety. But that vehicle's got some lights on it. I like it. Let's see what he does here. Surely he's not going to try to go forward. I think he's decided to hold up right there, and that's a good decision. That's a good idea. Again, I don't know exactly where this is. I do know that it's up close to Lake Pontchartrain. So in the last 20 or 30 minutes here this afternoon, let's look around and see what else we can find live video-wise. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to put the radar back up for you. And you're going to hear some different audio in the background. I'm just looking around to see what other video we could find. Well, here's Baton Rouge. I had some questions earlier about Baton Rouge, so let's go there. At least for a few moments. Let me take down that banner up there. I say this is Baton Rouge. The one of the road signs said Baton Rouge. Let me see. Actually, this is back in New Orleans, or at least that's what the text says here. And we've lost that camera, so let me look around some more. Actually, I only have 3 choices here. Laplace, Louisiana. That was Brett Adair. Okay, that's where Brett's at. That is Laplace, Louisiana. Probably pronounced Laplace down there. All right, and so I'm going to go back to his feed, and it's located right there. This is Lake Pontchartrain. So he's sitting right here. Let's see if I can tell. Okay, so that is that Interstate 10? I believe it is. No, it can't be. Can it? All right, let me get his feedback up, and then I'll figure out exactly where it's at. This is Lake Pontchartrain, and he's on this road looking toward Lake Pontchartrain, and it's underwater. All of that we know. I can't get his video to come back up now. We've lost his feed. Well, all right. So hang on there. We're gonna go back and see if we can find some other cameras to look at here. Let's go back down to, well, that Grand Isle camera is gone now. It's not even an option. All right, Jocko's gone. I think all of these amber cameras are not on. Yeah. All right, let's go back up here. All right, there's one. I think this is Reserve, Louisiana, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. All right, this is is this the same place Brett was at just a moment ago? Yeah, that's it. And you can see that water is rising. I mean, he's had to back up. So that water continues to rise. That's not I-10. It may be State Route 10, but that's not I-10 that we're looking at. All right, this is John Humphreys. Let's see where John's at. All right. All right, John is along US 90, and this is near Raceland, Louisiana, which is just east of Thibodaux. Again, this is just east of Thibodaux, Louisiana. Hard to see anything right there, and that's what I'm talking about. It's going to get more and more difficult to see. All right, let's move on, see what else we can find, because it's getting dark and we're not going to be able to see anything here in just a few minutes. And let's see what else we can come up with. All right, this is back in New Orleans. Getting reports of a bridge that has collapsed. I'll just read it to you from the National Hurricane Center. This is not confirmed. It's a preliminary spotter report that a bridge 1 mile northwest of Houma, Louisiana, over the canal, is what it says, has collapsed due to flooding. Again, that is a bridge 1 mile northwest of Houma, reported to have collapsed due to flooding. Quite obviously, there are reports of power outages all over this area of Louisiana. Most of the area now is in the dark. Most wind gust reports we're seeing now are in the 60 to 80 mile per hour range. We lost the Mobile radar. We're hoping that is temporary. The National Weather Service in Mobile is telling us that the technicians have identified the problem, and they hope to have the Mobile radar back up soon. However, they're having to fly the part in, and I would doubt very seriously anybody could fly into Mobile right now. So It may be a while before we get the Mobile radar back up and operating. But now that doesn't put Mobile National Weather Service out of business. They're using nearby radars to continue their forecasting. They're probably using Pensacola, if I had to guess. Again, you're looking at downtown New Orleans. Looks like he is in a residential section. Yeah, we're not seeing any major destruction, but it is kind of giving you a good idea of the widespread damage that we're seeing down there. Lots of trees, power lines, facade blown off of some of the homes. A lot of trash cans out in the road. Of course, power outages everywhere. That part is widespread, and then we have seen some, he's fixing to get blocked in if he doesn't get out of there. He doesn't need to be under those big older trees. All it's going to take is one of those trees to come down in his vehicle, and he's going to be toast. I think he's worked himself into a problem right here. Welcome, speed drawing amateur, watching us this afternoon from Brazil. Yeah, see, he's blocked in. He just said, here's what happens when you chase a hurricane. He's going to have to try to find a way out of there. But we've had folks watching us this afternoon from all over the globe, and we appreciate it. All right, Travis Roberts is in here. He's in Baton Rouge. He says not much to report there just yet. And Travis, there's a reason for that. The storm hasn't gotten to you just yet. Your turn is coming, trust me. Of course, I think you're going to be on the west side of the storm. So right this moment, I wouldn't expect to see in Baton Rouge what we're seeing in New Orleans or Houma. Wow. Speed drawing amateur is advising the last time a big storm came through Brazil, they didn't take the power grid down, and there were folks who were electrocuted. That's sad. Yeah, Christy, you're pretty much right. Christy said New Orleans sits on the edge of an ocean. Not only the ocean, but you also have Lake Pontchartrain, which is almost as big as an ocean. And it doesn't take much to cause flooding in New Orleans. And then if you have failure of the levees, it's even worse. And that's what happened in 2005 with Katrina. The levees failed, and downtown New Orleans was covered in some spots 15, 20 foot of water. I'm hopeful we don't see that this time, especially down in the 9th Ward. There was a tremendous amount of flooding there in New Orleans, and I'm hoping the levees hold this time. And so far, I've not seen any information pertaining to the status of the levees. And I'm watching the National Weather Service and the National Hurricane Center's chat room, which is for first responders and public safety only, and there's been zero mention of any problems with the levee. So I'm hopeful that that's the difference this time. There's going to be more wind damage with Ida than there was with the Katrina, but I'm hoping there is less flood damage with Ida versus Katrina because the levees hopefully will hold. This guy has made a horrible mistake by getting into this residential neighborhood with all of these 200-year-old trees, these big, huge oak trees, because the roads are just full of debris now, and getting out of there is going to be difficult. If he can get out right here, get under that overpass, he's got to get back to a more commercialized area where there's not as many trees. He's fighting a losing battle trying to maneuver these residential sections there in New Orleans. This may be, and I don't know for a fact, but this may be down in the Ninth Ward, or at least in that direction. Looks like I see some taller buildings ahead of him, so maybe he can get back to a more protected area. Believe it or not, you're more protected, at least from the wind, in downtown New Orleans near those big buildings than you are out there in the residential sections. A lot of folks watching us this afternoon from the UK. Hello, John D. Robinson, Electric Drums. Watching us from the United Kingdom. Mighty happy to have you in here this afternoon. I'm Dr. Don. I'm with Dr. Don's Weather. This is a weather service we provide East Alabama and West Georgia of the southeastern United States. That part of Alabama and Georgia is rural. They are surrounded on either side by major television markets, Birmingham to the west, Atlanta to the east. And unfortunately, those counties bordering Alabama, Georgia there on the eastern side of Alabama and the western side of Georgia are sometimes kind of left out of the weather coverage from the major television markets in metropolitan Birmingham and metropolitan Atlanta because there's just isn't as many people in East Alabama as there is in the big cities. So they don't get the wall-to-wall coverage that they deserve. I spent 20 years on the radio broadcasting in Randolph County, Alabama, Roanoke to be exact, which is right there on the Georgia state line. And so I relocated to Georgia about 11 years ago. But a lot of folks know me down there from my days in radio. So with technology advancements as they are, I've been able to start a service on social media and on our website and also our weather app that we have now to provide weather coverage to the folks of East Alabama and West Georgia. So that's what we're all about. For those of you that are joining us from other states, other countries, from around the world, that's watching our coverage this afternoon, that's who I am. That's what we're about. We consider ourselves a big, huge family. All the folks who watch us regularly across Alabama and Georgia and the southeastern United States feed information to me. I turn around and relay that information on social media. We have those who support us financially. And we have partners, which are businesses in those areas, who partner with us to help us financially as well. This is what started out to kind of be a hobby in some respects, but not all, has turned into a rather large deal to provide weather coverage. Back in March of this year, we had a tornado touchdown in one of our counties in East Alabama. We were able to give coverage, and I honestly believe that some of the information we were able to put out there may have helped save some lives. We made it through that tornado without any life loss because folks listened and they did what they were supposed to do to protect themselves. And that's the thing with severe weather. It is preventable. Deaths are preventable in severe weather. If you do what some of the folks we've been watching today in downtown New Orleans have done, it's not preventable. But any sane thinking human being would take those warnings and protect themselves. And that's what took place in Randolph County back in March. And that's how we were able to save lives during that tornado event. It was an F2 tornado that caused a tremendous amount of damage. So that's why we're here. Those of you around the world that's watching this and you're kind of trying to figure out what we're doing, obviously we're doing Hurricane Ida coverage, but why? And there's your answer. All right, so now we're back in downtown New Orleans, and we're looking more so in the downtown business district of New Orleans. And he is, while he's certainly still not in a safe place, he is in a much better situation now than he was just a few moments ago in that neighborhood. And that looks like road signs that have toppled over for the most part. Carolyn Walker joins us from England this afternoon. Good to have you with us. This was a bridge 1 mile northwest of Houma, Louisiana. I do not know the name of the bridge or which road we're talking about, but reports are coming back through the National Hurricane Center that there is a bridge that has collapsed 1 mile northwest of Houma, Louisiana due to flooding. It's a bridge that goes over a canal is all I know at this time. If I get more information, I'll pass it along to you. Lonnie Bailey is in here from Jamaica this afternoon. All right, so Larry Dobbs, who works for MLU, which is a company that sets up, well, they do a little bit of everything, but they were our main vendor during our COVID vaccination sites. They set up the big tents, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I can speak from personal experience. We could not have made it through our particular site in Habersham County, Georgia, without Larry Dobbs. Larry is he's amazing. But anyway, he works for MLU, and he said that they just received word that they're going to be headed toward Louisiana tomorrow to set up probably portable housing, or at least for maybe, the lights just went out in downtown New Orleans. Power is gone. Maybe they're setting up housing for utility relief workers that are coming in, because there will be utility workers coming from all over the United States to try to put Louisiana back together after this is over with. I'm just guessing. So Travis Roberts is reporting that he has heard of at least one levee failing. He's not sure where. Tony Walters, that kind of stuff will get you blocked. We are certainly not going to tell the people to come home this is weak, because it is not weak. It may be weak in your front yard, wherever you are. But by and large, this is a life-threatening storm situation. And posting comments like that on social media is what gets people hurt. and it will get you blocked in a heartbeat on Dr. Don's weather. So good night. Josie Rivera is watching us from Puerto Rico. Gosh, you guys know a whole lot about this kind of stuff. All right, so Christy Langley is telling us that one of the levees does have water coming over the top. It's somewhere on the east side of Pontchartrain, which makes sense. Because that's where we're hearing. That's where we are hearing most of the flooding is taking place over on the eastern side of Lake Pontchartrain. So that does make sense. Thank you, Larry. I appreciate your kind words. My voice is about gone. I got to quit doing this in a few minutes. We're working on hour number, about to go into hour number 10 now. Question, was it Southland Mall Bridge that collapsed? I don't know. Maybe there's somebody in here that has seen it from a different source that will know. I do not have a name of the bridge just yet. Blue Ridge Mountains of North Carolina. I was up there just last week, as a matter of fact. Starview Farm says that they went through Mexico Beach just a few weeks ago, and it's still jaw-dropping, the damage that these types of storms can cause. And that was Hurricane Michael several years ago. 4 years ago now, I think? At least 3, maybe 4. And the damage down there is still obvious this many years later. And this storm is just as strong, probably is going to end up being just as strong as Michael when all is said and done. Folks, if you send an unusually large message, I've got the chat room set up to block you. So again, some folks like to be cute, and there are some robots out there that will join, and they just start flooding the chat room with all these big, huge, long messages, and that'll get you booted quick, too. And so there was one in here doing that a few moments ago, and they're now blocked. Grand Isle is flooding. Yes, Grand Isle, Louisiana started flooding about 6 hours ago. All right, so but what they're saying is that we now have a breach in the levee. So I'm assuming there must be levees down there at the Grand Isle area as well. And so now that's been breached, and we have flooding ongoing down there. That's interesting, Travis. Travis is saying that Florida has changed their building codes, and I believe Florida did that after Andrew in '93. But he says that unfortunately Louisiana has not mandated that yet. And if that's the case, that's unfortunate. Hello, Florida. Great to have you with us. Christy is from the Mississippi coast, but now lives in North Carolina. I spent 3 months down there in Waveland, Mississippi, back several years ago. So I'm pretty familiar with that area. Rome, Georgia in the house. Howdy, neighbor. I'm over on the northeast side of Georgia, and you're on the northwest side of Georgia. Baldwin County, Alabama. That's down there around Mobile. That's where the worst of the weather has been so far in the state of Alabama. Well, thank you, Victoria. I appreciate that. Yeah, I was in radio for a little over. Well, actually, I've been in radio my entire professional career, but I was in East Alabama for about 20 years broadcasting. San Antonio, Texas in the house. Britton Thomas, thanks for joining us. I need to go to Texas. Only been through Texas on the ground once in my lifetime. That was back when I was a wee lad. Family vacation to Mexico. We went through Texas. Would love to go back. Travis says that his boss lives in Houma, Louisiana, and he said that he and his family are okay, but the damage is severe. And he's asking that everyone keep those in the path of the storm in your thoughts and prayers. Question about, have there been any tornadoes in Mississippi? Yes, we've had several tornado warnings. We had one just a few moments ago northwest of Biloxi. Currently, right now, we have no warnings in effect, but we did have one about, maybe an hour or so ago, just northwest of Biloxi, north of I-10. Navarre, Florida, in the Panhandle. We know where you are. Janice, thank you for hanging in there with us. All right, there's somebody in here from Norway. Somebody is sharing Dr. Don's weather because we got folks in here from all across the world. Welcome, Norway, to our coverage of Hurricane Ida. Now moving across southern Louisiana. So far, Sarah, I have not heard of any problems at the Superdome like we saw during Katrina. You know, the Superdome was completely rebuilt, or for the most part, was rebuilt after Hurricane Katrina, and they did some engineering improvements to the Superdome as well after Katrina. And so far, I have not heard of any problems at the Dome. But you got to understand, really, New Orleans is going to be in this now for at least another 6 to 8 hours. So things are really just now ramping up in New Orleans. Thank you, Liana Bailey. I think that's correct. I appreciate your kind words. Ed Fleming is in the Pacific Northwest, and yeah, Ed, y'all just went through a huge heat wave, and we've been watching that. We've had a rather mild summer. I mean, we've had several days of 90-degree temperature and a couple of days of 95-degree temperature, but for the most part, our summer has been rather mild down here in the southeastern United States. Typically, we have at least 3 or 4 months of temperatures in the low to mid 90s during the summer. And we just hadn't seen that this year. Not complaining at all. But then on the other side of the token, what you're looking at is something we have to deal with down here in the southeastern United States. And we had a long stretch there where we didn't have any tropical activity at all. And I was awfully afraid that the time would come we would pay for it, and now we are. Big Molly in the house from South Wales, UK. Thanks for joining us. Vera's watching this afternoon from Brazil. And I know what's going on. All of these folks across the world that are watching us on YouTube. And we have, I think, because we have been on for so long, our numbers have gone through the roof, and we have climbed to the top of the list. So now folks are picking us up from all across the world and are watching us this afternoon, which is pretty doggone cool. Omaha, Nebraska in the house over on Facebook. Christine says, watching you from Omaha, Nebraska. Rock on. I just discovered you. Thank you for the coverage from this landlocked Midwest gal. Nice to have you. Yeah, the storm will weaken. That's what happens. Hurricanes normally make landfall, and the further inland they go, they will weaken. We expect to be down to a tropical storm status by the time it gets up to Jackson, Mississippi, and then probably depression status shortly after that. And then there is a chance that this will continue northeast across Tennessee, Kentucky, and back across either North Carolina or the Virginias, and then back out into the Atlantic, and some of the long-range voodoo models, stealing a phrase from James Spann, suggesting this thing may reform out in the Atlantic. Now, that's bizarre to think about, but that happens. It happens more than you realize. But hopefully it won't be an issue for the southeastern United States once it gets out in the Atlantic. Christy says there are places in Mississippi where you can still see Katrina damage, no doubt. Driving from Tennessee to Houston, will the outer bands be a hindrance? Well, it depends on when you're leaving and which route you're taking. And where in Tennessee you're driving from. I mean, if you're driving from far southwest Tennessee and you're going to Houston, you're probably going to be okay. But if you're over on the eastern side of Tennessee and you're going to drive down maybe through northern Alabama or northern Mississippi and come down and hit I-20, you're probably going to run into some rain. And by no means should you come down through Alabama and get on I-10 and go through Louisiana. That's a no-no. So it really all depends on when you're going to make that drive and from where in Tennessee you're going to be driving from. The forward motion of the storm has slowed down a little bit. And the storm is also wobbling and now appears to be taking on that northward motion, which, to be quite honest, folks, is a little bit sooner than expected. What time is it? It's 6:21. It's 7:22 Eastern. Our next update is at 9 Eastern, 8 Central. If this forward motion continues between now and the next update, the cone of uncertainty may shift back to the east a little bit because it appears that we are moving. It appears that we have more of a northern motion going on now. But again, that could just be a wobble. It could be temporary. Thank you, Dawn, from Tampa, Florida. I appreciate your words. Indiana in the house. Christy, I agree with you. I think it is. I think it's moving more to the north as well. But again, that could just be temporary. We got to see if this trend continues for another hour or two. Then I think it would be easy to call. All right, we have a tornado warning on the way for St. Tammany, St. Bernard Parish down in Hancock County. That is in. Let's see where it pops. It's probably going to be, see the blue area. Let's go back to the radar. All right, see the blue area here. That is a marine warning. And let's take it to the last loop and hold it right there. That's a marine warning for the open waters of the Gulf. And so this area on shore to the between New Orleans and Biloxi is probably what's about to get the tornado warning, if I had to guess. That's up there around Grand Isle. Grand Island, I should say. South of Slidell, a little bit to the southeast of Slidell. Weather going downhill quick up here in Bay St. Louis, Slidell, Mississippi, and extreme south, southwest Mississippi most likely is about to get a tornado warning. Now, part of the reason why I think the storm may be taking on more of a northward track, and I know I said I was going to shut this down about 25 minutes ago, but I can't help myself. Hold on. Let me get the telestrator fired back up. So part of the reason why I'm saying I think the storm is taking on more of a northward track, earlier today, I'm talking 2 hours ago, if you can see it, the storm was kind of taking this track, coming up from Grand Isle and moving up to the northwest. It appeared to be headed directly for Houma. As a matter of fact, I made this statement several times that the eye of the storm was headed for Houma, and we wanted to watch. Remember, if you were listening, I wanted to watch that camera to see that eye of the storm move right over Houma. Well, look where the storm is now. So when we got to somewhere southwest of La Rose, the storm started taking on more of a northern track. And you see where it is up there now. So that's what I'm basing this on. But now here's the question. Is this just a wobble? Oops, that was ugly. Sorry, folks. You have to take Dramamine to watch this. So is this just a wobble? Is it going to shift back to the left and continue that track up toward Thibodaux? I made the statement that Thibodaux was in the track of the eye of the storm. I made the statement that Houma and Thibodaux would both see the eye of the storm. But you see what's happening here. We're turning back more to the north. So now, if this trend continues, that is throwing more of the storm over New Orleans. That's putting New Orleans closer to those outer bands that are spiraling right around what's known as the eye wall on the east and northeast side of the storm. So if this trend continues, then we're looking at the eye of the storm coming right over LaPlace, Louisiana, up there on I-10. And folks, again, I know I'm butchering the names of some of these locations. Look, I'm a good old boy from central Alabama. And I just learned how to say Houma. So I'm doing good. Gray Lance is in the high desert of Oregon. Not familiar with hurricanes. And he's asking the question, is the worst over as we go into the night? And the answer, Gray, is I'm afraid not. The storm is still very, very much alive. You can see right there. We still have a very well-defined eye. As long as that's an open eye right there, as long as you can see gray through the center of this storm, then the storm structure is still very, very well put together. And I'm just coloring in the eye of the storm so you can see it a little bit better. As long as that is symmetrical, and it looks as good right now as it has the entire time. So, no, there have been no signs of weakening thus far. Now, understand, and this point was brought up earlier today by one of our viewers, it has been over marshland. This part of Louisiana is like a swamp. I don't know what you folks call a swampy area in Oregon. Wetlands would be another good term for it. But we're talking thousands and thousands of acres of wetlands or swampy area or marshy area down here in southern Louisiana, which is full of water. And it's been raining in this area for the last 2 or 3 days, even before the hurricane got there. So the marshland was already full of water before the storm ever got up here. Well, as you know, hurricanes feed off of the warm waters of the ocean. So for the last several hours, ever since landfall around noon today, the hurricane has still been over water. Though it's not the ocean, it's still over the marshland. So it's still picking up some fuel. So I don't anticipate seeing any significant weakening from this storm until it gets well north of I-10. Maybe up there north of Hammond, Louisiana, before we start to see any weakening of this storm. So we got a long way to go. A long way to go. And you can see all these dark reds over here on the east and northeast side of the storm coming dangerously close to New Orleans. And you're looking at a live shot of downtown New Orleans right now. A question from Sarah Muller asking about the Superdome. She's from Wisconsin. And so far, Sarah, I've seen nothing about the Superdome. But we'll watch and see if we can find anything. Thank you, Cecilia Newman in Penn, Alabama. We appreciate you. You know we do. Cecilia's a supporter. If you'd like to support us, go to drdonwx.com. There's a donate button there on the top of our page. We'd love to have you. Victoria, Texas in the house. Jake, unconfirmed reports of a levee overtopping, yes. And that's going to be, from the information we're getting, that's going to be on the eastern side of Lake Pontchartrain. Also, Grand Island. I've heard reports that there may be some levee breaching going on there as well. Well, I'll tell you what, Britton Thomas, we get ready to head that way. I'm going to send you a message, and I'll look you up. Show me some Texas hospitality. I want one of them old great big old steaks that hangs off both sides of the plate, cooked with some of that, what do y'all call it, wood y'all use out there in Texas? Mesquite. Is that right? Have I got that right? That's right. I want to put on one of them great big old cowboy hats. I can tell you, I'm from East Alabama. I'm an Auburn fan. For those of you who don't know me, those of you who do know that I am. And I can remember back in the late 70s, Texas came to town. The Longhorns came to Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama. Hey, Nebraska played us, it was either that year or the year after as well. But I can remember Texas. I remember everybody showing up from Texas in their Cadillacs. Back then, you didn't fly as much as you do now. You drove if you went to a SEC football game because you want the experience, the road experience as well. But all them Texas folks piled up in Jordan-Hare Stadium in Auburn, Alabama, and, buddy, they put on a show. Of course, they beat the daylights out of us, but I just thoroughly enjoyed the Texas people, their tradition. They were just fantastic people. I really, really enjoyed that. That was long. That was a different life ago, a long time ago back in the 70s, but that was a lot of fun. Now I understand Texas may be joining the Southeastern Conference. That's pretty cool, too. Teresa Higgins asking the question, has the storm started to turn yet? I don't know. It appears the storm may be turning to the north, but again, understand this could just be temporary. It could be a wobble. This happens, and it happens a lot after landfall. So this may just be temporary. We don't know. So we've lost the New Orleans feed. Let's see if we can get back down there around Houma. If this works, this is going to be Highway 90, US 90, just north and east of Houma, Louisiana. Okay, this is interesting. Let's see what this is. Could this be... looking to see if that's the bridge over the canal. Horrible signal right there, and it's breaking up. No, there's vehicles going over that bridge. I don't know if this is the bridge they're talking about or not, but the report that we got was north. I thought that report was northwest of Houma. This is northeast. But that is a bridge, and that is a bridge over a canal. And there's got to be some reason why he's sitting there filming this bridge. So I'm just wondering, are we seeing just one side of the bridge and there are issues with the other lanes on the other side? I don't know. But you'll notice we have this storm chaser sitting here. We have one sitting right ahead of him. We've got one out there in the median. It looks like we have law enforcement on the other side of the bridge. Those look like blue lights flashing, though they could be white. I don't know. So I'm not really sure. I know that we're northeast of Houma, back toward New Orleans. And this should be the backside of the southern eye wall of the storm passing over this area right now. Britton says, yeah, he'll be ready with the steaks and the hospitality. I know y'all know how to do it out there. I spent 2 godforsaken years in Chicago, Illinois, back in the late 80s. No disrespect, Chicago. It's just, that's a different way of life from the way I grew up in central Alabama. But I spent 2 years in Chicago back in the late 80s. And, of course, all the folks up there in Chi-Town really enjoyed my southern accent. And if you think it's bad now, you should have known me back then. It was really bad. But they all thought I was from Texas. I mean, it never failed. Any restaurant, anywhere I went in Chicago, if I said two words, the first thing, folks, as a matter of fact, I almost got a T-shirt made up that said, "No, I'm not from Texas," because it was constant. Everybody thought I was from Texas. I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but so it's at one point there toward the end of my 2-year stint in Chicago, I just said, "Yeah, I'm from Texas." So I kind of feel like I have a connection with the great state, with the Longhorn State. Yes, that's what I'm showing right now is radar, because we're having problems with our feed, some of our live cameras. This one has cleared up a little bit, so let's go back. This is not New Orleans. This is northeast of Houma, Louisiana. And again, this is a bridge over a canal. I have no way of knowing if this is the bridge that is experiencing problems. The report was that there has been a bridge has collapsed over a canal. I'm thinking that report was northwest of Houma. This is northeast of Houma. So this may not be, but it certainly is a coincidence that we have at least 3, if not 4, storm chasers sitting right here looking at this bridge. Unless there's been unless a different one has failed and there's been reports of problems with this one. I just don't know. But we're looking at it for just a few minutes to see. And let me go back to my weather computer and see. We do have a tornado warning for Hancock, Mississippi, and Orleans, St. Bernard, St. Tammany until 7 p.m. That's 7 o'clock Central. We just got an update from the National Hurricane Center. Let's see what this says. Okay, that's just their daily summary. That's nothing. That doesn't give us anything. And I'm looking. There's a product called National Weather Service Chat. It is for first responders and emergency managers. And each National Weather Service office, including the Storm Prediction Center and the National Hurricane Center, are in this chat group. And so you can see what's going on in all areas across the United States. And so I'm monitoring Mobile, I'm monitoring Mississippi, I'm monitoring Louisiana, and I'm monitoring the National Hurricane Center. And so far, I do not see any information about any significant flooding. There have been reports of flooding, but nothing that would signal to me that we've got anything going on that would rival Katrina as far as the levees are concerned. There are reports that water is topping the levees in some locations, but you'll remember during Katrina we had catastrophic failure of the levees in multiple different locations. Now, I'm just not seeing anything like that so far. But again, understand, the core of this storm is just really now making it up into the greater New Orleans area. So New Orleans has still got a ways to go. All right, folks, I'm going to start winding this down. And the reason why, I've been going now for 8, 9, 10 and a half hours. And my primary responsibility is East Alabama and West Georgia as far as Dr. Don's weather is concerned. And we may very well spend some time together tomorrow. So I'm going to put this to bed so that I can get a little rest. If I find something that we think we really need to share with everybody, we'll come back and we'll start over again. This one thing I will say before we jump out of here, we do have a tornado warning now for the greater Slidell area. Hard to see because of all the red on the screen. Let me take... yeah. All right, so if I take the reflectivity off, you can see it. We have a tornado warning right there, which covers the greater Slidell area. We also have another tornado warning back to the south. So there's where our tornadoes are occurring right now. I'll zoom out, and you can see that out of this entire mess, we only have two active tornado warnings right now. And both of them are, one of them is just to the east of Lake Pontchartrain over the Slidell, Mississippi area. And the other is out here along the coast, right along the Mississippi-Louisiana state line. South of Grand Island, back south, southwest of Oyster Bay. Folks get Grand Isle and Grand Island confused all the time, and I understand why. Put the reflectivity back on. Zoom out, and what I'm going to do is take the next rad off and switch back over to the composite. This shows all radar sites across the southeastern United States all at one time. So let's go up here and look at Alabama and Georgia, closer to our coverage area. For those of you watching us from around the world, I'll point out a few things for you so that you kind of understand a little better what we're all about. And I think it's just cool we got folks from all across the globe watching us this evening. That's why I've stayed on longer than I planned to. I wanted to give you guys a little something. Please bookmark us. Please go to our Facebook page and like us. Dr. Don's Weather on Facebook. Like Dr. Don's Weather. And then on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and click on that little bell so that when we go live, you'll get notified. I just think that's the coolest thing in the world. And so happy that you guys are here. And folks, please share us with everybody and ask them to go to our YouTube channel. I know even if you watch us on Facebook, it's beneficial to you and to Dr. Don's Weather for you to go to our YouTube channel and like it and hit that little bell. Because that gets our numbers up on YouTube, and you're guaranteed to get a push notification when we go live if you like us over on YouTube. Now, Facebook's algorithm is a little different from everybody else, and you're not necessarily going to get notified immediately when we go live on Facebook. If you go over there and subscribe to our YouTube channel and click that little bell, you will. Or the better idea is to go to drdonwx.com and download our weather app. We've got it for iPhones and for Androids. And then you're, again, guaranteed to get a push notification when we go live. We have all kind of information available over there on our weather app. Now, it is tailored for East Alabama and West Georgia. So you folks all across the country, unless you have particular interest in East Alabama and West Georgia, you're not going to get weather warnings in Omaha, Nebraska, or Moose Jaw, Alaska. It's tailored to East Alabama and West Georgia. So we need all of our folks in East Alabama and West Georgia to download our weather app. Then the rest of you go to YouTube and click on the subscribe button and hit that little bell so that you get notified when we go live for severe weather. All right, so what I'm going to do here is just draw around our primary coverage area that we pay most attention to across East Alabama and West Georgia. Again, don't make fun of my drawings. I didn't do very well in kindergarten. All right, so That's the primary area that we pay attention to during times of severe weather. Will we cover severe storms down here in central Alabama? We certainly will, and there's a reason for that too. Because I'm from East Alabama, born and raised. I'm sorry, central Alabama. Little town some of you have heard of a time or two, called Prattville, Alabama. Just northwest of Montgomery. Right there. That's where I was born and raised. So I do pay attention to that area. We have family down in Dallas County, down around Selma. I got family over here in Chilton County and Clanton, Alabama. Family up in Birmingham. Now I have family down here in Albany, Georgia. I have family in Tallapoosa County, Alabama, down around Tallahassee. Have family over here in Athens, Georgia. Yeah, we pay attention to a large area, but our primary coverage area is right there across East Alabama and West Georgia. So, folks, we're going to wrap this up this afternoon as we lose that feed again. We are going to put this broadcast to bed for the day. Not expecting anything significant across our primary coverage area, though you folks down here south of Macon over in Georgia, you got a big storm blowing up down there. It'll probably head. Let's put that in motion right quick and see where that's going. Okay, that's moving almost due north. Stop it right there. That'll stay north of Albany, but that could become a problem right there, so we'll need to keep an eye on that. But nothing imminent posing a threat for East Alabama or West Georgia at the moment. Don't really anticipate anything throughout the overnight hours. If we have any problems across East Alabama and West Georgia, it most likely will be tomorrow afternoon through Tuesday afternoon. And of course, I'll be right here with live coverage on Dr. Don's weather. Thank you all for joining me this afternoon. It's been a crazy ride, and this storm has still got many, many, many hours to go. And if the track is changing, that could change things for parts of Alabama. And we're going to watch that real close over the next several hours. And if that trend continues, I'll come back and let you know about it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I'll talk to you either again later on this evening or tomorrow morning with our primetime forecast, and then certainly again probably by tomorrow afternoon. Thank you all for joining us. We'll talk to you next time on Dr. Don's Weather.